for the glory of Elohim, that suffer for Messiah and the word of Elohim, will be persecuted, even as they was persecuted in the apostles' times. But Peter is giving us encouragement here. He says, if ye be reproached for the name of Messiah, happy are ye, for the spirit of glory and Elohim resteth upon you. We should look forward to that persecution. Hey, that's how we know the spirit of glory and of Elohim resteth upon us. But there's a condition here. In verse 15, Peter says, but let none of you suffer as a murderer or as a thief or as an evildoer or as a busybody in other men's matters. So in other words, you don't go in someone else's business and start preaching what you want to preach. You don't go and start telling about what this person said and that person said, getting off into other people's affairs. Because if you do, you will suffer. People going to come back at you. You will suffer. But that's not the type of suffering he's speaking of. You don't even do it for his name's sake. You don't become a busybody in other men's matters for Yah's name's sake. You don't suffer as a murderer for Yah's name's sake. You don't go kill somebody in the name of Elohim, in the name of Yahushua, Elohim. Saying, well, I'm doing this for you, Yah. No. That time is past. That was under the old covenant. Yeah, they had to physically go out and fight a physical battle with physical people and bring a physical death around. But now, he tells us to be wise as serpents, yet gentle as doves. I've never seen a dove murder anyone. So if you suffer as a murderer, you're not going to be glorified. You're not going to be met with open arms by Yah. Or as a thief. I'm going to be like a Robin Hood. I'm going to steal from the rich and give to the poor. Yah, he don't want that kind of help. And when you suffer for being a thief, then, you're not building up no reward in heaven. You're not. Or as an evildoer, done some type of evil in the name of Yah. You're not building up any type of kudos with him. You don't have nothing in that spiritual bank. In fact, you're viewed as any other sinner operating in wickedness. So, careful about what you suffer for in the name of Yah. You have many people who are zealous, and they, hey, they want to do these things that are, against the word of Elohim in honor of Elohim.
Yes.
But Yah doesn't accept that. You have to do it the way Yahushua, our Messiah, Redeemer, and King told us. By being wise as a serpent, yet gentle as a dove. He gave us his Ruach HaKodesh. We have everything that we need. He will see us through.
Yeah.
We don't have to go the way of the wicked in order to prove our point. Amen?
Amen. Amen.
And just remember, judgment will begin at the house of Elohim. So no matter how you try to justify your reasons, judgment going to come on you first.
Yeah.
And as an admonition, Peter says in verse 18, if the righteous scarcely be saved, where shall the ungodly and the sinner appear? Now, what would be found in the temple of Yahushua when he comes the second time? Even the same thing that was found the first time that we read about here in Yochanan 2:14. It says, and found in the temple, when he went up to Jerusalem, and found in the temple those that sold oxen and sheep and doves and changers of money. Now, we're going to break this symbolism down. The oxen depict the ecclesia, those who labor in the word of Elohim. You know, 1 Timothy 5:17 and 18 says, let the elders that rule be counted worthy of double honor, especially they who labor in the word and doctrine. For the scriptures say, thou shalt not muzzle the ox that treadeth out the corn, and the laborer is worthy of his reward. You know, the oxen typifies the priesthood as well as, you know, the rulers in the kingdom of Elohim. You'll notice every time that the priests have to give an offering, there's always a bullock or ox, you know, pretty much the same, you know, same thing, you know. And when it deals with the people giving the offering, it's a sheep or a goat. And when it's dealing with the poor, you know, it's actually the dove or the turtle dove. You know, the sheep depict the general assembly of believers who follow the true ecclesia and the true Messiah. Because you have some people who think they're believing and they're following false ecclesia and a false Messiah. You know, Yahushua warned us of that, did he not?
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, Matthew 25:32 says, and before him shall be gathered all nations, and he shall separate them one from another, as a shepherd divideth his sheep from the goats. You know, so we'll find out who's who. This is speaking of when he's actually, you know, judging. You know, you gotta, okay, that's a sheep, that's a goat. And we know what happens to the sheep and what happens to the goats. The doves depict those believers with the gifts of the Ruach HaKodesh, in the sense that the Ruach HaKodesh descended upon Yahushua in the form of a dove. You know, those who are poor in spirit, those who are humble, you know, Yah gives his gifts, his goodly gifts of the Ruach HaKodesh, you know. And so they typify the doves. The money changers depict those who unjustly make market of the many-member body of Yahushua. Now, this is what they typify. And Yah had a problem with them because, you know, these folks were selling these things. Just as now today, many of your rulers of the body of Elohim are sold. You know, they're sold, you know, for lack of a better expression, pimped, you know, into doing things that sometimes they don't want to do and being a part of things that they shouldn't. You know, this has been going on since Yahushua's times, and it's certainly going on now today. You know, the way a lot of these so-called church organizations are set up is not unlike the mafia. You know, whereas, you know, one tied to the other and the other tied to the one above it, on up the ladder until you get to, you know, the Godfather, if you would. You know, real talk, it's set up like that. You know, and they have these different regions, and, you know, and they want their cut out of any and everything. They want their cut. Like I said, not unlike, you know, to the mafia. And that is a way of selling people. You know, here it is, you got a new pastor or priest or what have you coming into the fold. You know, yeah, we're going to hook you up. We're going to give you a church over here, and, you know, but you know you're going to have to tithe to us the rest of your life. You know, we make you, we'll break you. You know, that sort of thing. This thing is going on. You know, this sort of thing is going on. The same thing with the sheep. Same thing with the sheep. You know, hey, you know, I'm about to relocate over here. You know, let's make a deal for my flock. You know, all kind of things, you know, is going on in the temple of Elohim, so to speak. You know, people with the gifts of the Ruach HaKodesh, they trying to get paid too. You know, they want to sell the gift. You know, hey, y'all gifted you to be a teacher. You know, they want to sell it. They don't go nowhere and speak unless they're getting paid. You know, or you're supposed to be a prophet of Elohim, not without a prophet's reward. You know, that's the sort of thing that this is spiritually speaking of. You know, the changes of money sitting, speaking to the merchandising, you know, which is very prevalent nowadays. But these things Yah found fault with the temple. And as we'll see in the next verse, you know, he done something about it. And when he comes back, he's going to do something about it again.
Oh, man.
Yochanan 2:15 says, and when he made a scourge of small cords, he drove them out of the temple, and the sheep and the oxen, and poured out the changers' money, and overthrew the tables. Now, this scourge of small cords typify the sins of those being driven out. See, and this, you know, Yah doesn't really do anything to anyone. You know, you get thrown out because of your own sins, because of the things that you do, because of the wickedness in your heart. You know, Proverbs 5:22 says, his own iniquity shall take the wicked himself, and he shall be holden with the cords of his sins. Isaiah 5:18, woe unto them that draw iniquity with cords of vanity and sin, as it were, with a cart rope, which also can mean cords. You know, see, these cords typify sin, you know, and this is what Yahushua used to drive them out of the temple. Even their own sins. Their own sins are going to testify against them. And this is a spiritual picture of them receiving their stripes for those sins. Because the word teaches us that those who sin knowingly will receive few stripes, and those who sin knowingly will receive many. Well, I thought, you know, his blood washed away my sin. You know, yeah, it did. You got a clean slate. You started over. But as you begin that new start, make sure you sin not. Because whatever sin you do, you're going to have to bear the stripes of. And that's only fair. If you think about it, that's only fair. If someone give you a fresh start, you know, kind of like, you know, you file bankruptcy, you get a whole fresh, clean slate. They're not holding any of your past debt against you. But now, you start over and you start accruing more debt. Is it fair to hold that new debt that you done accrued against you? Of course it is. So why wouldn't you think Yah wouldn't be fair and just in the same? You know, now if you didn't accrue the debt, then that's a different matter. You know, even as with your TRW, your credit report, that's a different matter. You didn't accrue the debt, prove you didn't accrue the debt, and take it away. Likewise, Yah knows whether you did or didn't. But point being, the debt that you accrue after your slate being wiped clean, you're going to have to take the brunt of. That's something to think about, isn't it? Mm-hmm. You know, let's see if we can is this out of place? Yeah, I think this verse is out of place, but let's see if I can do it like this. No? But there's a verse that speaks about oh, no, it's not out of place. I have my next reading read Yochanan 2:16 and 17. That's what's missing.
And said unto them that sold doves, take these things hence, make not my father's house an house of merchandise. And his disciples remembered that it was written, the zeal of thy house has eaten me up.
Absolutely. You know, Yah says, make not my father's house a house of merchandise. You know, a house of, make his house not like the market. You know, which is what they were doing. They made his house a marketplace. You know, now when it says that they were in the temple, it didn't literally mean that like they were in the holy place. You know, or even in the outer court. You know, it was, you know, it was a part of the property, so to speak. You know, but that being said, you know, they made his house a marketplace. You know, and they sold these things, you know, for various reasons. But this wasn't pleasing to Yah. Now, it doesn't mean, you know, and this was an eye-opener to me. You know, this word not right here is actually may in the Greek, and it means no or not, but it's expressing condition or negation. You know, in other words, you know, it's not absolutely not, like you can't do this, period. You know, which would have been the Greek word ou. You know, or ume, where you have both of them together, which means like absolutely not, never, ever, ever. You know, but this is a conditional not in the way that they were doing. You know, so it was, you know, it speaks to the what they were doing and the way they were doing and their reasoning behind what they were doing. It wasn't right. You know, they was doing it just for the sake of merchandising. Now, it says the disciples remembered that it was written, the zeal of thine house have eaten me up.